President William Ruto now says the government will crush criminals roaming and killing innocent people in Mount Elgon region. The DP who toured the region on Sunday maintains that it was unacceptable for a few criminal elements to cause mayhem with impunity. 2 people have died and more than 40 have been admitted after a suspected cholera outbreak in Gatanga, County. People have been admitted at Kioni dispensary and Thika level 5 hospital with symptoms of diarrhea and vomiting. Majority Leader in Parliament, Duale, says the culprits who raped students in Wajir last week should be stoned to death according to Islamic Sharia law. Duale, who spoke while presiding over the prize-giving ceremony of Ansarul Sunnah groups of schools at Sir Ali Muslim Club in Nairobi, reiterated that criminals who engage in such act will be dealt with mercilessly. And a total of 110 girls are missing after an attack on a school in northeast Nigeria by suspected Boko Haram insurgents in what may be one of the largest abductions since the Chibok kidnappings of 2014. Welcome back. You're watching This Is a Point here on AM Live, and of course also if you missed last week's headlines, we'll be running them aside on the smart screen for you just to get a prize of what was happening last week, and of course also with editorial cartoons as well. So for now we circle back with Farah Maalim. We are still looking at Mount Elgon, and of course he will wrap up with his last comments on that. I'm holding court this morning just to of course also update you if you're joining us with Farah Maalim, who's the deputy leader of the Wiper Party. We do have with us Jeremiah Kioni as well, who's the Member of Parliament from Daragwa, also the chairman of COC, that is the Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee in Parliament. And also we have with us Senator Samuel Pogiso, West Pokot Senator. We have with us Head of Content from Radio Africa and the Star, that is David Makali. And as well we do have with us Dr. Eseli Simiyu, who is a Member of Parliament from Tongaren. Right, Farah Maalim.
Yeah, you know, this business of branding any people who have certain grievances as a bunch of criminals and then trying to resolve the problem by killing them all is in my opinion, not a good thing.
Yes. And
it's not going to, it will never solve this problem. And this thing will always stay with us. I think there are serious problems of land issue in Mount Elgon. Those problems were never addressed when they were being crushed last time mercilessly by the military, just by, you know, sheer killing.
Yes.
And we've seen some of these things also because, you know, we're talking about, and this is going to breed more and more hardcore people who will still would want to go and, you know, settle scores. And I think it's instead of trying to deal with these things the manner we're dealing with them, without in any way giving in to criminal gangs.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's important to understand the underlying grievances that are there. And those underlying grievances are in many places in the country. I mean, too many places in the country. So instead of trying to create an elitist country where you have, like the famously put by the late J.M. Kariuki, 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars, instead of whenever there's a settlement scheme or there's a land to be allocated, a few very powerful people end up giving it only to themselves and to their family members and disenfranchise the rest of the community. And that has happened all over the country. So there's need for these things to be studied. And if we had that TJRC report out, that has dealt exhaustively with all these problems and has given diagnosis, prognosis. It has literally said what should be done about it. So I have a feeling the mere fact that we're hiding that report up to now is an impunity on the part of our own leadership here in this country. And we're still trying to recycle the same, you know, tired old thing of saying that we'll crush them. What do you crush them? You crush them today, tomorrow their own children will come up again. Find out why the grievances are there in the first place.
Thank you. Yeah. So we know that reintegration is a big issue, and of course is one of the underlying issues they're talking about. And land, of course, also.
Land is there, reintegration is there. These are Kenyans, for God's sake. These are not people from another planet who have come to attack us, you know. And there's a reason for them to go for those extreme measures. So let's deal with it. Let's have people, you know, all experts in different fields dealing with these things. It's not just a behavioral problem.
Right. And last week also we had a very harrowing experience for a girl in Wajir where she was raped for 3 days consecutively, a 15-year-old girl. And this is a statement that actually came from the majority leader, Duale. Just listening.
Islam honors women and protects women. That is the position of Islam. Women are more respected in Islam than any other religion. And if we follow the teaching of Islam, Sharia law, whoever rapes a woman will be stoned to death. That is the punishment.
All right, so I want to pick the brains of the chairman of the Constitution Implementation Oversight Committee. This is Jeremiah Kioni, to tell us more about this. Where does it hang with the Constitution, this particular Sharia law, and the pronouncement that we hear from Duale? Let's hear from him. We'll come to you, Farah.
It would have been good to hear from Farah first.
Don't put this man in the frying pan. He has to go to Parliament.
No, but let him tell us. Allow me to just say, one is that I don't agree with Duale when he says that it's within the Muslim religion that women are more respected than any other religion. I'm a Christian and I know we respect women, we respect men, we respect people on an equal footing, and what happened in that county is horrible and it needs to be dealt with by the law enforcement, and again within the framing of our laws and our constitution. And in our constitution we do not carry a punishment in form of stoning. But I think at times we also take the majority leader very seriously on everything that he says, and we want to pin him down on the word and the letter. And I think this is also what the Americans are suffering from. Whenever Trump tweets, they all take it very seriously, and at times I think he's just tweeting for as a way of
as a leader
doing
as a leader, any pronouncement that really comes from you.
Allow me to finish, Debarl. Some of the tweets I see also from Trump are just like somebody who has not he never intended it to be subjected to this kind of a serious panel. But again, I think it is important to say that if it was within other jurisdiction, that statement alone would call for his being asked to move away from the office he holds. Because stoning may be allowed within the Muslim community, but it's something that is not there in our constitution. It is something that people will be unhappy about when it's said, not to indicate in any way means that raping a girl for all those number of days, and if we know who did it, it is not anything that we would want to be happy about or even allow to happen. But to talk of stoning, I think the best thing would be to allow the due process to take place.
Right, but I think in this epoch of time and dispensation where we are fighting and grappling with extremists and radicals, right, and we are talking about integration and people who've been embroiled with terrorism, riding under very false ideology. When you make such pronouncement, you as a leader, don't you think also there are people who will take you seriously down the line, Senator Bogisio? I think that's a bit careless.
Yes, I want to agree with you. The statements we make as leaders, some of the people that listen to us think it's law. And I think that we just need to tell our people sometimes that orders of that nature come only from a certain level of government, not from everybody who claims to be speaking for the same government. I was surprised the other day, I think just yesterday, reading that a county commissioner somewhere in West Pokot had ordered a shoot to kill, given a shoot to kill order. I mean, really, I don't even know how that came about, because who has the authority to issue a shoot to kill order? Should not be. I watched this one, and I think that the suggestion, although he was saying it in a religious context, among people who are in the same religion, they might take it like it's allowable in the country. And I thought, and I think that you would just be careful that he might have announced something. And so Mr. Duale, Honorable Duale, just needs to think sometimes that being the majority leader, people think he's speaking for the majority party in situations like that, and that is not really within the context in which he should be speaking.
Right. And if you're talking about tooth for a tooth and an eye for an eye, David Makali, if we may go that way, of course, of the Old Testament as well, you'll come here, you know, a blind man and not able to speak as well, you know. So, in light of what we're talking about, how far should we as leaders be careful not to be making pronouncements, especially when we are actually picking context from, you know, religious books like Quran and the Bible? Very briefly.
Well, I mean, I can't add much. What my colleagues have said is sufficient. This is not a country that operates under Sharia law. I think Duale's statement should be taken in the context of the interpretation that the Islamic faith gives to that particular offense. And he said, and he refers to the Quran, I guess. But, you know, he's not saying that the country should adopt stoning, because that's part of cruel punishment. And I'm sure our method of executing the capital punishment is different. It's not via stoning. But I think he was just underscoring the gravity of the matter, of the offense, that people have raped somebody and for that number of days. It's a cruel thing that needs to be dealt with legally. Of course, Duale is not particularly famous for being guarded about his speech, and he has said a lot of things. I remember one time he really went after a single judge, I think it was Odunga, and said, "We will fix you," you know. Such things, you expect restraint from a leader of his stature or occupying his position. So he's a little, I don't want to use the word loose cannon, but that happens frequently.
All right, let's hear from Eseli, very briefly, and then we move on and we look at the dailies which are running, this was actually the headlines. You will come to Farah.
Duale is forever running at the mouth. Is not surprising for me. He's, you know, he thinks after talking. He talks, then thinks later. One time I wondered whether his brain hears what his mouth is saying. I think he doesn't really understand the importance of the position he holds in Kenya, and doesn't realize that some of the utterances he makes, some people might blindly follow it. But to me, it's not surprising, because it seems to be a problem with his team, in the sense that there he is talking about Sharia law, which doesn't exist in this country. He wants to mix religion and a criminal event like that one. And the same way when his party vice chairman talks about benevolent dictatorship, you know, they're just running at the mouth. They're not really thinking the consequences of the things they're saying and what the outcomes could be. But I would think, I would encourage him to really carry himself with more decorum, befitting the position that he holds.
All right, Farah Maalim, let's wind up on that.
By the way, my petition will be determined tomorrow, and I cannot wait, hoping that this time the election will be nullified and we'll have a rerun again with my relative Duale. But having said that, I think when you let me defend Duale this time. When women say castrate rapists, you don't jump up and say, Mheshimiwa, this is not just against the Constitution, and every rapist might be castrated again by the people. You know what I mean? So when he says, by the way, it's nothing called Sharia law. Sharia is law. So it's when you say Sharia law, is to say law. Yes. So it's Islamic Sharia, Islamic law, and that's what it is. So the Sharia, according to Sharia, yes, but this is overemphasizing the gravity of the thing itself. The same way members of parliament would say, women parliamentarians will say, castrate what do you call the rapists, and you know, people don't go out there and picking them and castrating them, and nobody will stone them. I think they might even do something worse than that. I have no sympathy for anybody who rapes a child of that age. In other places, they are lynched and they burn them with tires and everything else. I haven't seen that happening. We don't have lynching as part of our tradition ourselves as a community. But what he was doing was basically to emphasize the gravity of that thing. Yeah. And I think there is need for those people to be brought to book and for them to suffer the consequences itself. And we don't have to vilify Duale. We can vilify him for other things, but then we don't have to vilify Duale for calling for the stoning of rapists. In the same way,
thank you.
You don't vilify for calling for the castration of rapists.
All right, thank you. All right, we want to, of course, the headlines are running alongside, of course, myself on the split screen, and you can see ODM top brass to decide NASA's future. That has been also the topic of the day when we look at the political scenario as well. These were just headlines of last week. Let's talk about the future now of NASA as it is right now, because we've had Musalia saying that, yeah, Raila betrayed, he betrayed them. We want to hear from Eseli this morning. You tell us what is really happening within NASA and Farah, first of all. Are we going to have NASA, because we've had also Musalia Mudavadi saying we shouldn't focus about the swearing in. Kalonzo has been also not throwing back. He said he will be sworn in. We are still eagerly waiting to see if he will be sworn in on the 28th as he promised, right? So where are we at? And is NASA crumbling to dust?
I think what you should realize is that at the top echelon we have the summit, and they are the ones who make a lot of the important decisions. Even if we were recommending something to them, they go through it and make the decision whether they'll go through with it or not. As for whether NASA is crumbling or not, one should realize that this is a coalition. And in fact, in the coalition agreement, there are exit clauses. Whoever wants to exit, they are actually exit clauses. So if any party decides to exit, there are clauses that guide that exit from the NASA coalition. But in my view, it will be a tragedy for Kenya if the coalition collapsed, because then the Jubilee juggernaut, with its non-regard for human rights, non-regard for rule of law, and total impunity, will overrun this country. For those who lived during the other regimes and understand what dictatorship, impunity, and negative ethnicity and corruption mean, we rule such an event happening. Because I think, given the situation the way it is, with Parliament neutered, the judiciary on the verge of being captured by the state, if we were to lose the NASA opposition coalition, then I would say that this country will be really in trouble.
Right. Let's hear from Jeremiah.
No, I'm just amazed by Mheshimiwa Eseli. You asked him about NASA, and I thought you'd have spent time trying to tell us how they are holding together and where the future is for NASA, and he has spent 90% of the time talking about Jubilee, and I think that is why NASA will still fall into pieces. I wouldn't want to see them fall into pieces, but I can tell you, I've been there before, I can tell you the most important process for the parties or coalition parties within NASA as it starts now are the exit clauses. You read them very well so that you are able to think of what is coming. And without doubt, those who have started talking about 2022, I think are the more focused ones, because after this, the only other thing that is relevant is 2022. Certainly, there is work that is cut out for the minority parties in Parliament, within and without Parliament, and I think they should also focus on playing that role and playing it positively. When those positions were created in the Constitution is because there was room for them. And if NASA would concentrate on that role or those duties, then this country would be the better. And the duties are to keep Jubilee on check. That is the work of the minority. Not to throw unnecessary jabs. You know, when you are looking, I could see Eseli struggling to look for the worst vocabularies that he could assemble. I saw some little bit of it wasn't
I
so
don't
natural.
struggle, they come naturally.
It wasn't so natural this time around.
For Jubilee, they just come naturally.
Well, again, that is another problem, because when you have a constitutional mandate, you don't look for ways of just trying to make the other one look bad. You should look for ways of trying the country to
you look bad.
Eseli.
Could you answer that? How do I keep you in check without making you look bad before the population?
You are better
Because
than just
the
talking
electorate
over
has
me.
to be shown.
Allow me to finish. You are better than that, Eseli. I have known you for better things than that.
But
So I was saying that the work of the minority is more than just looking for all the bad words that you can try to assemble. I don't think it is. It helps the NASA coalition.
All right.
It doesn't help Jubilee, and doesn't help the country.
All right.
And I think it's crucial to say this, that I don't see, we shouldn't even concentrate a lot of time on saying that NASA is breaking apart or whatever. It is part of it. It's part of the political process that we must go through. There is rearranging themselves for 2022. Even within Jubilee, there will be that rearranging and realigning yourself. And I think it's just part of what politics is all about. I don't see anything so horrible. And survival is very crucial. Kalonzo must give an answer that is acceptable to the many as to why is he not taking an oath? Why is he going to take an oath? They must keep answering these questions. Where were they when the oath was being taken in court? Because if there was any oath, perhaps we will be seeing, was there an oath? Is it a necessary political strategy? All these things.
Let's say from Senator Pogisho,
for the coming days.
We're looking at the people daily. Ditch NASA, ODM MPs tell Raila, and we have also Mbita MP Emilio Odhiambo, leading legislators demanding party leaders exit from alliance to strengthen Orange Party ahead of 2022 polls. Right, just comment on that a bit, because we see, yes, from the look of it, NASA will not be holding moving forward, because already we can see now people are taking positions as well. Very briefly.
I think that NASA has a very strong summit. I think they're strong at the top. And whatever comes out of their summit seems to be holding. And I don't think it's time to talk about Raila quitting or Kalonzo quitting or something like that. We need a strong minority party. We need a strong coalition. But you know, we all understand our nature of politics in Kenya, that parties come every 5 years. We move on to other parties, and it's like football season, when you have to start changing players or buying or whatever it's called. So we have a situation now where you have to start realigning yourselves. Think about the past and think about what's coming in 2022. So I think a lot of the soldiers are trying to appeal to the summit in the different parties to break, but I think the summit seems to be holding together, and I hope that they actually can hold for the sake of our politics as well.
Thank you. Briefly, Makali.
I think from a strategic point of view, I think there is nothing to be gained by NASA, falling apart. NASA parties going their ways. Because then what next for them? I mean, so what if Ford Kenya is on its own, Wiper is out on its own, ANC? They'll just, become smaller shops that will not offer the country much of what is expected of the opposition. So, in fact, I would think that they would be progressing the discussion, now that they didn't take power, to how to consolidate their different parties, their alliance, into one solid party, so that they can actually then perform the functions that a serious opposition is expected to perform. And that is not being done at the moment. I mean, we haven't yet begun the actual work of this term of government. But I think it's about time. People are getting on your marks. The government is now set. Cabinet has been established. And the actual governance is about to begin. We need to see similar steps on the opposition side in preparation for this country's next 5 years. The obsession with the 2022, I think, is really, really unfortunate, because we're looking at people beginning to politic and organize themselves for another race, rather than organize themselves to ensure that the next 4 years at least are, the country is properly run and our money is used properly, which is not happening. In the absence of that, we see, of course, Third Way Alliance, Dr. Ekuru Aukot has occupied the void. He has slipped in there to call himself the official opposition without a single member in the place where business is being conducted, Parliament. It sounds to me like a joke. That's because the NASA coalition has failed to actually organize itself in structures and to correspond with what the government is doing, which it needs to hurry to do. And that's why I'm saying consolidation ought to be the way they're moving rather than disintegration, which I think is very unfortunate.
All right, but looking at what also we have on the floor, I think this was on Friday, Daily Nation apart. Musale now sings his own tune. He says also we should forget about, the elections in August this year, as according to, Raila Odinga. So do you think if he's speaking from this particular angle, then, this particular ship is sailing in the same direction?
The truth to Debarl is that, and that's why I'm saying it's unfortunate. What we need to be seeing are integration rather than disintegration moves. But because of the rivalry and the sharing of spoils, and the situation the parties, the NASA finds itself in, people are scrambling for survival and positioning themselves to occupy the front seat or the fly ahead of the others in the next race.
Thank you. And it seems also the reality on the ground is NASA was particularly intent. The formation of it was particularly intent, to win the 2017 general election, and that didn't really happen. So, it holding for the near future, coming 2022, we think is just maybe batting our heads on the wall. The reality on the ground. First of all, tell us, will your wiper chair be sworn in at the end of this month?
And whether will you be holding the Quran?
Let me tell you something about coalitions in this country. Coalitions don't survive any more than one election.
Don't go to the history.
Just a moment. Just relax. For
the interest of time.
For the interest of time, yes.
For the interest of time, we don't want to hack back into history of
you
coalitions.
See, all these coalitions, Ford, Jubilee, which is going to, by the way, Jubilee is only together for as long as this NASA thing right now has issues. The moment NASA goes separate ways, even Jubilee is going to go separate ways. So Ford, Jubilee, NAC, PNU, NASA now, and we even had ODM, which was more or less like a coalition, and most of them left again, the current vice president, deputy president, and the rest of them. This thing is for a purpose. If it survives beyond 5 years, it's a miracle, and that's why I think Jubilee has done very well, because NAC did not survive more than 5 years. NAC again changed into PNU. When Kibaki came in for the first 5 years, the second 5 years was PNU. He was not there.
Code survived for 5 years.
Code survived no. After we had the code in the elections of 2013, we didn't have code after that. One-time use, all of them, and right now. Let Jubilee not bask in the glory that is going to be there. Jubilee is going to disintegrate.
But they seems to have actually, they have the act together, and they've put their ducks in a row compared to NASA.
No. There's too much undercurrents in there.
Too much?
Yes.
In fact, you should see.
They're only together now.
You should see what God has drawn for you today here.
They're only together.
The NASA astronauts, this is how you look today. Yeah. I'll soon announce my swearing-in date. This is what Kalonzo is saying. We are now focusing on 2022. That is what now Mudavadi is saying. And then we have Wetangula. NASA, sorry, ODM will go it alone. This is actually from ODM. I think that's Raila Odinga holding the Bible. And this also is Wetangula. It seems also to, everyone seems to be actually going every which way.
Not quite sure.
Not quite sure what is really happening. So you're floating.
That's exactly how Jubilee will be in a very short period of time. I can assure you that. But let me tell you, all this thing is going to change again. Current NASA, people are talking as it is, and people will go both ways. Some NASA people will link up with some Jubilee people. Some Jubilee people are going to link up with some NASA people, and basically the 2022 is going to be a totally different ballgame altogether.
Thank you. Back to my question. Are we having a swearing in of Kalonzo Musyoka?
I don't know. You can ask him. I've said many times.
No, before. you are the deputy party leader. You should, yeah.
Hang on. I've said this many times before. I never agreed with the swearing in. I don't see what difference it's going to bring. We've had Raila sworn in now. What difference did it bring in? It hasn't brought in any difference. And there's a lot that we don't know ourselves. And even the swearing in itself, everybody's saying so and so, backstab the other person and the rest of it.
Somebody might take that position.
Yeah, but
somebody might want to be sworn in.
might want to be sworn in.
to be deputy people's president, and then there will be another fight.
Aren't you part of the advisory panel of Mr. Kalonzo Musyoka? You being the deputy chair?
I am his deputy party leader, yes.
Yeah.
And we
have you advised him otherwise?
Look, I'm not going to discuss the party internal, what do you call, discussions and deliberations here on national
This is in the public domain.
But then watch and see. My position has been very clear, and I don't support it. I don't think it's going to add anything by him, what do you call, swearing right now.
Thank you.
So let's see whether this...
Just again to echo Mr. Makali's words, there is no joy in seeing NASA fall into pieces. It's not good for this country. But you can also not fail to see what is happening. And I think that is what is hitting the other leaders of the political parties. Allow me to finish. That without doubt, what Raila is doing is positioning himself for 2022. He's already gotten a good reason as to why he should be on the ballot 2022. And the reason is that others betrayed me. They did not come for my swearing in. So don't tell me to honor the promises that I had made that I was not going to be there on 2022. And others can literally see. I see Kalonzo, Musalia. They can literally see that they have been betrayed. I don't know who is betraying who.
Thank you.
But it is, again, I want to say it's unfortunate because the country requires a very vibrant minority party. But again, I have taken this from Mheshimiwa Farah. And he's written all this on top of this paper, NAC, PNU, NAS, Saudi. But if you look at it from 2002, and I think this is, if I am sure I cannot be retained to be advisors of any. But if you look at NASA, you look at if you look at NAC, you look at PNU, you look at Jubilee, you look at TNA, the whole thing. There are those who've been moving away, but that center is still moving. And I think it's really a question of looking at it politically and seeing, like Debarl was saying, 2022, again, where do you want to play this game from? You really, politics is about that.
All right, thank you.
If you continue moving into pieces in the manner, you continue playing that unfortunate.
Yes.
Let me just say that I have worked with Kalonzo and I've been the party chairman there with him. And I know that given an opportunity, I think that sometimes people misunderstand and misconstrue what Kalonzo says. But he's it's a very difficult situation, because he has to balance a number of things before he makes that final call. And I think he has said he'll be sworn in. It's just a matter of logistics and time and so on. He's insisted. In any case, in my view, Kalonzo is still a very respected leader in eastern region, very highly respected and has very nationwide connections. So I really want to say that let people not put too much pressure and continue pushing Kalonzo. In any case, as my friends have said, we are in a situation where Raila has been sworn in, and it's a kind of swearing in that does not necessarily require the agency which we are trying to put these guys into swearing, the deputy. So let them organize themselves, and when they are ready, they do it. I don't even understand why the fuss. And I look at him.
Thank you.
I think he is going through so much, and he should just be allowed to work out that.
But you want him zoning into what?
Okay, let's say from David Makali, is this just for the optics? He's playing to the gallery, noticing that he never surfaced that material day, so his political life maybe is actually on the chopping block. So he just wants to come and appease maybe that particular crowd that really came out in force and were really disappointed that they never showed up.
Well, he has to prove himself on that matter. There is no doubt about it. The supporters expected it. If he didn't believe in the swearing in, he should have said so way before the date of swearing in. It became a bit, the pressure piled on him because he did not make clear his current objections that the swearing in is an illegal thing. And if he had proclaimed so clearly, nobody would be putting the pressure on him. They would have said, okay, we'll swear in Raila, but I don't think this is the right thing to do. The problem is trying to play safe, trying to be politically correct with the supporters and the supporters of NASA, and then eventually not turning up when the call came. That is where the problem is. But I clearly believe, and I can see that Kalonzo does not believe in that swearing-in thing. But he's unable to declare so. He's saying so in many ways, and it's like you're trying to push, the way you try to take a cow to the deep. It will jump this way, that way, But clearly, he doesn't want to get into that that deep.
All right,
so if he does that, this matter will be, and it can be clear. They can meet as a summit and say, look, we've decided to move forward. The matter of January 30th is behind us. Next, we're moving on to this. And nobody will hold Kalonzo, that thing on Kalonzo.
Thank you. Let's hear from Eseli, very briefly.
I said earlier on that a lot of these decisions are made at the summit. We can recommend, but the summit makes the final decision. What amuses me is that people are crying louder than the bereaved, in the sense that Raila, who was purportedly betrayed, has not complained. In fact, if anything, he defends his core principles. So I keep on wondering why people want to wail louder than the person who was there for, who we say in quotes was betrayed. Because that same person, Raila Amolo Odinga, appears to be defending his core principles. So it is no, the thing is, what I'm wondering is why the rest of us want to cry louder than him. And if he were doing PR, it would be pretty clear. But for now, when they meet and the statements they make after the meeting, and from whatever the decisions they make from those meetings, doesn't seem to go the same direction. However, my thinking on this,
yes,
and that I would still advise my principal when they go in for their summit meeting, is they need to decide very seriously as to how long are we going to stay with this vilification of other principles, yes, within the coalition, while Jubilee keeps on roaring ahead. We need to get together and start really checking these people, because really there's so much going on which is very unfortunate for this country. And I know Kioni will say that I'm concentrating on Jubilee. He says I should be putting Jubilee to task or whatever. And when I try to put Jubilee to task, Kioni doesn't like it. So I think it's a situation where the summit definitely needs to come up with a decision one way or the other. Because as I said earlier on, the NASA agreement, coalition agreement, does have exit clauses. So that if anybody wants to exit, it will be good to put those clauses into action, so that we don't keep on looking like we are fractured.
All right, maybe we can wind up on that briefly. That is also an editorial cartoon from the Star today. It is well, it is well in NASA.
You look at even as he weighs it.
Farah wants to weigh.
Yeah, but before the cartoon, the attire tells it. Look at the attire that is worn by the leader of NASA. Every time he appears,
it's in the ODM.
ODM, Kofia, ODM, and then he even says this is the National Governing Council of ODM, and he is seated next to Musalia and Kalonzo. I think it's all over for them to read.
But Farah, you know this song. Maybe Farah can tell us if
you're focusing on the song, but look at the instruments of choice. I don't know whether you've noticed that.
Yeah, the violin.
Arrows. And all the arrows are pointing to the other.
No, as we know, the wiper also personifies Kalonzo.
Yeah, that's right, but
the arrow is headed towards Raila.
The arrow is actually...
Raila's arrow is headed towards Kalonzo.
Interesting.
Muzaria's arrow is headed to Kalonzo. So I think Kalonzo has more arrows. He may want to go down fast.
Kalonzo is sandwiched in between, has more arrows.
He has more arrows eating.
Makali.
Well, I think that NASA, and it's good that Eseli is saying there is...
Oh, sorry. Farah will take special umbrage. He's actually agitated that I'm coming. He wants to comment. Please, we'll come to Makali.
No, you see, people are discussing my party, you are discussing my party leader, and you very conveniently chose to leave me out of the debate.
Looking at the arrows.
No. You see, let me tell you, Debarl, whichever way NASA is going to go, in the speech that was at the what do you call ODM Governing Council, Raila had indicated that he will go it alone if need be. ODM might go it alone. This whole thing revolves around one centerpiece, whether Raila would be willing to support somebody else for the presidency come 2022. Period. If he is magnanimous enough and is able to reciprocate all the goodwill that was shown all these years by the rest of them, of supporting him for the presidency, and he says, this time I am going to be the kingmaker, I'll sit back and I'll support one of you, and he brings them together as a team and settles on one and says, okay, this one can be our president, this one can be our deputy president come 2022. Then we will, this whole thing is going to disappear. And there will be nobody will be talking about arrows in different directions and the rest of it. But if Raila is hell-bent on running again, then NASA is dead like a dodo. And that would have been the same also if Uhuru would try and have a term, what do you call, a repeal of the limits of the term of the president. If he says today, well, nation wants to remove the time limits and says that a president can run for as long as he wants, then there will be no jubilee in there. So basically, you don't have to go in many circles. These whole other things, the swearing in, and all those things are sideshows. The centerpiece is whether Raila would be willing to support one of these other three for the presidency and would convince one of the three also to settle for number 2, and the other one also in a position that is essential. And he himself will be the kingmaker. If that were to happen, then there will be absolutely no problem.
Thank you.
If that doesn't happen, and he's still going to be in the race, NASA would disintegrate sooner than anything else. And
right, thank you. Let's hear finally from.
I wanted to challenge Farah on one thing. Where is it getting this idea of a possibility of changing the constitution? No. And the chairman of this CIC thing is here. Yes. Where does it get even the idea?
You see, what I'm saying is in the event.
What event?
Oh, just relax, my friend. It has happened in all the countries in Africa, many. It's happened just next door here in what do you call Uganda.
His best friend.
It's happened in Yaya Museveni. It's happened with Museveni. It has happened with Rwanda. You get my point. It has happened with Burundi by saying that no, the 2 terms is going to be after this term because this term was a transition term. It happened with many countries in the region.
We can't
thank you.
But you can't allow Farah to get away with that.
You'll get a chance. Farah, you've had your share. Can you get to hear from...
No, I haven't had my share because you kept on limiting this debate. But anyway, what I'm saying is that I don't want these guys jumping up and down. You know, this is bringing back the old days of Kanu, of the sycophancy. The moment you mention something, they think they'll be taken to court and told you are in Jubilee and you did not defend this issue.
Makali,
no, I mean...
Let's say from Makali, we'll come to you.
If I go to what I want to say, I think it's apparent that in these next 5 years, we are going to have a referendum, we are going to amend this constitution somehow before the next election. That I think is almost unanimous in this country. What we will create there, whether we'll have positions to host some of these ambitions is a different story.
Yes.
My concern is that, we were addressing NASA, I think we need NASA to move to occupy the space of the opposition quickly so that we can begin to check government, because this government is about to do grand things and big things which need to be watched. And my concern is when, even beyond the swearing in or non-swearing in of Kalonzo, can we begin to see an organized opposition which is taking the positions corresponding to those in government? We want to see a devolution ministry, we want to see the structure. And so I hope when the summit meets, and I agree with Eseli, it needs to look at, and I hope this will not be another battle for fights again, sharing positions. Because this looks to be the big thing in NASA, sharing of things.
The swearing is a non-issue now, if that's what you say.
Yeah, I would like it to be a non-issue shortly. If the summit can resolve it and say, look, let's move past 30th January and move to the next thing and constitute the shadow cabinet and begin to organize ourselves to challenge the state.
Right, Eseli, maybe your
confusion here. The current constitution gives us a purely presidential system of government. When you start talking about shadow cabinet, you are actually going back to the parliamentary system of government. So it's something that we need to look at very carefully, because when you start talking about shadow cabinet, then you're talking about parliamentary system of government. In the current context, this is something that we toyed with as COD before and found that it will be pointless, because if you were to pick a shadow cabinet, who are these people that you are picking? So it's not really the same thing as in a parliamentary system of government.
Did Ekuru court actually miss it? Being the draft of his constitution, he's come up with a shadow cabinet.
No, you see, he's basing on the 26th election, repeat election. That's what he's basing on, which to us in NASA did not subscribe to, and we thought it was.
No, let me get it clear. You say that first of all, this when you're talking about shadow cabinet, this is in the parliamentary system.
Yes.
So how is it now dovetailing with 26 again? Is he
no,
just
Okuru court is trying to base this on the 26th October, whatever, but then he is failing to realize that this is a pure presidential system.
So how should they?
So him being the draft of his constitution, how is he missing the link? Why is it?
No, I don't think he's missing the link.
He was not the drafter. He was the CEO.
He was the CEO
of the committee that set up the constitution.
But
however, we toyed with it. We toyed with it. The issue of having a shadow cabinet, we toyed with it as COD, and it actually has. For the serious limitations, especially for coalition in the opposition, it is not something easy to deal with. But that does not stop NASA from checking the Jubilee administration, even from within Parliament.
So how does how will it do it? What format does it take? Because that's why we just have freelance commentary and disorganized check of government. I mean, how do we do it?
You're trying to insist that we should have a shadow cabinet.
No. I'm not insisting. I'm saying, okay, in the absence of a shadow cabinet,
system.
that is true. In the absence of a shadow cabinet, because the presidential system doesn't provide for it.
How
do we check it? Because we must create structures and systems.
How do you check?
That's where the gap is.
Can we hear from? We'll come to you, sir.
Yes, there are two sets, two different groups here. Then in the NASA coalition, they really don't need to have a shadow cabinet, because they have a parliament. The members are in parliament. For Ekuru court, he's very realistic. He says, I have no members in parliament. So if I am really the opposition, the chief opposition, I must create some kind of structure. So that is his structure. He calls it shadow cabinet. Because he has nobody to do the work of oversight in Parliament. So he has the right to really do it outside. In any case, it's really his own idea of how he's going to counter government. So, but the way the presidential system is organized, you do not need to have a cabinet, because even the cabinet that is there in government does not sit in Parliament and does not directly interface with the issues of legislation or even actually oversight.
Thank you. Let's hear from Kioni.
I think he's taken it away from me.
All right.
What our court is doing is looking for political relevance, and you must credit him for it, because that gap or vacuum has been created, and he's trying to look for how does it become relevant. But I also agree with the Eseli. You can't expect the minority party to shadow the government, because the government is not even in Parliament. What I think is the problem is that we have the position of the minority leader in Parliament, in the Senate, and we have people who've been appointed to play those roles in Parliament, who, in my opinion and respectively, have not lived up to the expectation. When you sit in Parliament and my friend Buddy is seated on the other side, you really see a person who is completely, you sympathize, because he is struggling, and you can even see his colleagues at the back wondering what is he saying before he is told what to say. And I think one of the things that we need to work on, the committee that I sit in and I share, is thinking together on these issues. We will need to ensure that the ruling that closed out the leaders of the minority parties from coming to Parliament or to the Senate or such other, and it's actually Parliament and Senate, that route must be opened, either for them or any other person that they think can give that leadership properly. And in so doing, I think then we'll have the muscle to check the government within Parliament. But as it is now, we have a ruling that says that the leaders of political parties cannot come to Parliament because of one or two things. But that seems to be hurting our the minority party.
Right,
and I think we need to open that up. Allow them to come to Parliament.
Let me give you Makali.
And exactly the country. I want to agree with Eseli. Allow me, Debarl, this is a very important thing.
We need to wind up.
I know you want to wind up, but wind up on something useful. If we don't allow the leaders of those political parties to come and air their views, remember they have huge following. We will continue having these shows within Uhuru Park, but we need even the ideas to come and help the country grow.
Thank you.
So we must open that route for the
Makali.
briefly. It may not happen immediately.
Briefly, as the proponent of that shadow cabinet thing, the idea should not be stuck on the title. Whatever form it takes, however we cloth it, what we are saying is, can the opposition be organized in a manner to deal with the governance of the country as the opposition? It could be through offices they set up that are corresponding to those in cabinet, and they can find avenues to get their contributions or deliberations to the floor of that house. They could even as well, and you know, this is just scapegoating. Because, I mean, so we are going to play opposition in the public domain, media, or how is the opposition going to run its function as opposition apart from the MPs in the House? Because cabinet and government is actually not on the floor. That is done.
Right.
But we must find a system to act in that arena.
We're winding up.
Unless we change the constitution, unless we put in certain provisions like you have in other developed world, when you win any percentage, any certain percentage beyond, I think, 5%, then the leader of that political party sits in the upper house. You see what I mean? The leader of that political party sits in the upper house. And then we also create...
Farah, that is all legalistic.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it. But you see, right now,
it's fixable. It's fixable.
It's about practicality.
And, the committee I chair will fix it. But we want to hear ideas from even from NASA. But allow me to just say final thing that the words from that we are changing the constitution to create another term for Uhuru, that is warmongering. It is not good. He must avoid that. I know him.
I didn't mean that. He just gave you examples. I think now you.
You see, this is the problem.
Now that is an hyperbole.
You see, this is a
hyperbole.
Yeah.
All right. Just a moment.
Okay, Farah. Now I agree that what Eseli is saying that you.
No, but where is he getting?
Please, Farah.
Where is he getting this thing that Uhuru is changing the constitution and giving us all these examples around this region? He just tried to create a bad blood.
All right. Thank you. I think we need to wind up on that. I think he didn't.
I did not say that. You better defend me. Otherwise, what did I say? I said in the event. If this were to happen.
That event is coming from where?
Okay, Jeremiah, I think
no. You can jump up and down.
No, we are not jumping.
All
right, Jeremiah Kioni, I think what Farah meant, I think that is an hyperbole you're actually raising right now. He didn't really mean that, of course. And I know you're saying that with your tongue family in cheek as well, right? Thank you very much, everyone, for, of course, coming through this morning. And I'll be remiss, as we're winding up, there is also this particular, if my director may take it up as we're winding up, the new bill to raise number of MPs. And they're saying that actually to raise number of MPs so that they can accommodate gender. Maybe we need to tackle that next time, when we'll be coming here, because you as the chair of the Constitutional Oversight Committee, you need to tell us why do we need to come up with more seats for MPs to accommodate women. And we still have the Constitution. You're not really obeying the 2/3 gender rule as well. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, I really appreciate the contribution this morning, and thank you also for your valued company and watching AM Live. Thank you. Have a lovely day.